Hoof and Fang podcast. I'm Kirt Graves.
And I'm Maz Maddox.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm living the dream. I've been isolated for the past couple of days because one of the gifts I got from our adventure was COVID. So yeah, I've just been in the house. So that's why I have like way more makeup on and earrings and stuff today. Cause I was like, ooh, I get to put on clothes. Like I have an excuse to look nice. So
well, good. I mean, not good, but that's something.
Yeah,
something.
It is what it is. But other than that, I mean, good-ish. I got a little bit of writing done over the weekend, like right as my symptoms started to cool off. I had a little bit of a like, yay! So I got like 500 words down. So really nothing, but at least I moved the needle a little bit.
Sure.
But yeah, other than a little burst of creativity, I've basically just been in bed like up until about yesterday. So
when did you start feeling symptoms?
I started feeling like crap about on my birthday. So like the day
after.
Yeah.
Because your birthday was last Monday or last Tuesday?
Last Tuesday.
Okay.
Because I like an asshole. I didn't realize I was sick yet. So I went into work and was like so happy. And like it was my birthday. I hammed it up. Like everybody gave me candy and stuff. I was having a great day. And then by like right after lunch, I started feeling really tired. And I was like, oh, I just got back from a thing. So maybe I'm just wore out a little bit. And then by the time I woke up the next day, I was like, I'm sick.
So I had to take a test.
Yeah, I took it. Well, and my test came back negative. So I was like, oh, okay, I just got the crud or whatever. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until Alex got a positive test and I was like, shit. Because of course I gave it to him. But yeah, I had to apologize to my coworkers and be like, hi, thanks for the birthday stuff. By the way, I bio-bombed the office by accident. So yeah.
I mean, that is kind of how that always works because the symptoms don't show up until after you've been contagious. So
right. Exactly.
In some way, shape, or form, that was bound to happen. But, so bummer, you got the conference crud.
Yeah, I got it. But
bummer.
I'm starting to feel better. I still have a cough, so I apologize in advance if I don't mute myself quick enough if one of them pops up. But yeah, I'm climbing out the other side. Like my energy's back. I'm like ready to do stuff. I just sound like I'm dying.
That's
something.
I'm not sure my energy is back, and I didn't even get that sick.
Did you get a little sick?
I'm still not sure if I had maybe like the mildest cold or if it was just allergies. But like just worn down and a little bit of like nasally stuff. So it could very well just be spring.
Yeah.
Well,
I kind of thought that's what mine was. I was like, oh, it's allergies because the whatever pollen or trees I'm next to or whatever do not like me. So I just thought my allergies had resurfaced really bad. No. So I can see where you're coming from.
I know one other person who got sick was not testing positive for COVID. So it does not seem to be the same like outbreak that other conferences have experienced, but it does seem like some folks did get sick, perhaps in transit.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to avoid it. Although I did mask often, not all the time. But especially like, I don't know, I'm one of those people I feel like in the conference space, I trust most of those people to have gotten vaccinated and be on top of their health. And like if they felt cruddy to not show up. So like in our little bubble, I felt safe taking the mask off. The second I was out of our bubble, it was like mask on. I don't trust these bitches.
Yeah.
Like if I'm in a lift, I'm at the airport, I'm going to I don't trust those people.
That's what I should have done. I should have just absolutely because I must have gotten it from the airport. You know what I mean? Like that huge hub like that. Of course. But I'm paying the price.
Yeah. That was my strategy a couple years ago when I went to the Audio Publishers Association conference. And I was one of the few people who did not get sick. And everybody was like, oh, the conference got everybody sick. And I was like, guys, I don't know that it was necessarily the conference because that was like one of the few times I was unmasked was in that space. But I did put a mask on for every theater I went into, every restaurant I went into, every time I was on the subway, in the airport. And I was like, I think it's more about just being out among tons of people, like that's when you need to be the most careful.
Yeah.
Watch me prove myself wrong with the next conference. But for now, that's my philosophy. I'm sticking to it. I definitely didn't get COVID. I'm not even sure if I got sick or if I'm just a little sniffly from allergies. So
I think it's a solid plan. That's one I plan on hopefully remembering next time I have to go out of town.
Do that. So,
I could be your guinea pig.
Yeah, please do. Please do. So, well, if we haven't already, this episode, we're talking about Queers and Quills.
Yes,
because
we're going to get into it. We got to
get into it. Yeah, I just found like it has taken me so long to get over how much sleep I lost while I was at this conference. Because I was having so much fun with people that I was staying up way too late. And then my body was like, no, you need to wake up at your normal time.
Yeah.
Which is like 3 or 4 in the morning, West Coast. So it was like 4 o'clock, I'd roll over and be like, I'm wide awake.
Well, that sucks.
You know? So I think the last day I finally slept until like 6. Ooh. But that was it. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's taken me a week and some days to like this morning I finally woke up at a decent hour and I was like, I think I'm finally back on my regular sleep cycle. So
dang.
Yeah, but it was a blast.
I struggled with it. Yeah, man, it was so good.
It was so much fun. So maybe should we just general impressions, had a great time. How about you?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I think and we'll get into like the specifics of it, but great, like probably one of the better conferences I've ever been to, just with how organized it was and just the accessibility of everything. But yeah, man, I had such a blast, and the readers that I met and the people who I got to meet during the signing and stuff, because weirdly I was a little shy about being there. Like, I guess because I was just out of practice of being in those spaces. But like back in the day with GRL and stuff, I would just go downstairs and just find people to talk to. I could not bring myself to do that this time. And I think it's just because I hadn't been in those spaces. Like I really kept second guessing myself and kind of turtling a little bit. So like the first night I was there, I wanted to go downstairs and mingle, but I ended up just crashing. Like I just went to bed. And I think the next night, like Friday, I stayed out a little bit, but I really didn't like go and mingle and do the things like I typically did. Like I don't know. I was just weirdly intimidated by it. Yeah.
I did not have the same experience.
No, I know that you did like way more than I did like after hours. Like I probably should have just like gone to those places and just gone for it. But I don't know.
You should have just sent me a message. What are you doing? I
probably should have. I probably been like, what are you doing? I'm just going to tag along because I'm weird right now. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't be brave. I was just stayed in my room after hours because I don't know. I was just being weird about it. I kind of regret it now, but it's okay.
Well, no, you have next time.
Yeah.
And clearly you need a little bit of rest if you crash right away. So
yeah, I did.
I probably could have on Thursday night, but I was like, I'm making myself stay up late because I want to sleep in tomorrow, and it just didn't work so much. Well, we'll get into it. So let's talk about our travel there.
Okay.
So what I ended up doing was driving down to Chicago the night before my flight. I flew out on Thursday morning.
Nice.
And our flight was a little bit delayed. I met my friend Lindsay, who is a narrator, who was also going to Queers and Quills, who lives in Chicago. So we met at the airport and went through security together all the way to getting on the plane and then landing in Portland. It was an uneventful flight. As I was sitting on the plane, though, somebody got on the flight that I was like, I know that person. So it was Anya from previous conferences.
Nice. Yeah.
I had seen her last year at the Rainbow Readers Cruise. She is somebody I have met up with at GRL in years past. Mm-hmm. And so it was like, it's Anya. I like sent her a text message or on Instagram. I was like, did you just get on a plane to Portland? And she was like, I did. And so right from the very beginning, I was running into people that I knew from previous conferences. And the whole weekend was a lot of that. It was just running into people I had met and spent time with before.
Awesome.
Who have now made like Queers and Quills one of their stops on their like reader conference tour. So there was a lot of buy-in to Queers and Quills, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so too.
From the community, which was great.
Yeah, I saw a lot of familiar faces or people who I realize I know online, but I never met in person and stuff like that. So it seems like a lot of people from at least our orbit were there, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. How was your travel there?
Getting there kind of sucked because when I booked my flight, I guess I didn't realize that the first leg of the trip for whatever reason, they sent me to Atlanta. So that flight was relatively short. But my flight from Atlanta, Georgia to Portland was 5 hours. Like, it was awful. And because I didn't want to pay to pick my seat because of a cheap ass, they put me in the very last spot. So right next to the bathrooms. So I was stuck on the aisle seat for 5 hours next to the bathroom. So there were asses by my face for hours of people lined up trying to go to the bathroom. And it was just the worst. So it was, I watched 2 movies, fell asleep for like half of one of them. The dude next to me like kept passing out and like kind of doing the head thing where he like accidentally kept touching me and then apologizing. And I was like, dude, do you want to borrow my neck pillow? Like, stop. Right. So it was just a really, really long flight. So by the time I made it to Portland, I was like, I think that's maybe half the reason I turtled is because I was just so sick of being around that many people that I just wanted to be in my room and go to sleep. But yeah, it was not great. Getting back was fine, but there just was a nightmare. I was like, man, F you, Delta. That sucked.
You're going to pay for that seat from now on.
I know, no shit. Yeah, learned my lesson. I was like, all right, yeah, $15. I'll pick where I'm sitting because that sucked.
Exactly. So, there's a reason they do that. They want that $15, and all you have to do is not do it the one time.
One time, I was just being a cheap ass, and I was like, it's fine because usually, like, I'll get pushed like more towards the front because I'm by myself and they have to like fill the spots. And I guess this one was just really full, and they're like, put that bitch in the back. And I got the worst seat on the fucking flight. It sucked.
That's sad. Yeah, we got to Portland like by 11 in the morning. Like it was super early.
Nice.
And Lindsay, who I was traveling with, their sibling lives in Portland, so they came to pick us up. So I didn't need a lift from the airport. Nice. Lindsay's sibling came, and they're a tattoo artist in Portland. I got to kind of learn more about them, and they took us out to breakfast, and then we did a little tour of the neighborhood, and then we did end up going to the hotel like around 1. Because Lindsay like had to work and like did not sleep at all before getting on that flight the day before. So she was like up all night, got on the flight, flew there. She slept some on the plane, but then we had a sibling, Leslie, drop us off at the hotel around 1:30. Lindsay was able to get a room. I was not right away because it was early check-in, but it only took like a half an hour before I was going to my room. Oh, okay. They had one ready for me. They're like, you're next on the list. We'll get you there. So yeah, I was checked in by like 2:30-ish.
Nice. Okay.
Which was great because it gave me time to unpack, to check my packages that I had shipped there with all my swag stuff to make sure that like not every single thing had broken. I kind of put all of my personal stuff into the drawers and then took all the conference stuff and put it in my rolling suitcase because that's what I was going to take everything over to the convention center in. And,
Sweet.
And by the time I was done with that, it was time to meet some of the boys for drinks.
Nice.
Because a little group of gays had pre-organized a cocktail hour on our first night there. And so I went and met with M.A. Wardell, who I had not met in person before. So it was our first time meeting. Dominic Lim, who I had met at Rainbow Readers and is just one of my favorite people.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Kennedy, who I had not met before except on the podcast. Fred Smith, who I had not met before except on the podcast. And so that was like our little beginner group of gays for the weekend. Paul Michael Winters was there, and so then we ended up having dinner, and then I tried to keep up with the lesbians for a little while for cocktails. That I didn't last long. They out partied me on that first night, but I did, like I said, I did stay up till 11 that first night, so I could try to make myself go to bed late and then get up early.
Yeah.
So, and we did like a grocery run. It was very like, I don't know. It was fun to just hang with the guys for a little bit and
awesome.
Go check out a little bit of Portland, even on that first night. And again, nice. I had just been to Portland last year with our Oregon trip with the gays. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I've been to some of these places, but we were only there really for the one night. So, but more on that in a bit. So then Friday comes along and we have the opening ceremony. And this is when I knew these bitches had put in the work.
Yes, same. Yeah,
you're walking to the space and you see 2 areas for taking pictures with giant balloon displays. And then you walk into the conference ballroom which has hundreds of chairs set up, a stage, audio visual. They're filming the stage and projecting it on screens to the side.
Love that.
There's lighting, there's a drag queen host. They have done their work to make this feel like an opening ceremony.
Yes, it really was. It, like, as soon as you walked in, like the hype was there. I love that they incorporated people from the community to like actually be part of the event. And of course they had the sign language interpreter, which that just seems like a no-brainer thing that I've never seen at one of these conferences. So it was just like, wow, like you said, they put in the work. They really did try to think of how accessible this can be and how inclusive it can be, like completely. So I was like, man, they really smashed it. They really took the time to like ask questions and do research and figure out like what people respond to, what hadn't been done, what needed to be done. It was awesome.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And it set a really good, I don't know, what's the word I'm searching for? It set a good tone for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah.
I will say, and this is where I get to throw some shade because this is my podcast.
Okay.
To the member of the audience who stood up and asked if they thought they might ever turn this experience into some sort of podcast.
I was wondering, I was like, oh, I'm surprised you didn't stand up and throw a shoe like immediately.
Well, I already was standing because I was about to go to the bathroom because I was moderating a panel right after. And I was like, I need to make sure I get to the bathroom in between these two things. And like, it was feeling like we'd kind of reached the end of the opening ceremony. So I was like, I'm going to go to I'm going to sneak out. I'm going to go to the bathroom and then go to my room for the panel. And as I'm walking out the door, the question gets asked and I stop and I turn around and I walked back into the room and was like, excuse me.
Hold the fucking phone.
Maybe we should do a podcast for the conference. Jeez.
Well, and I'm glad that they were like, I mean, no, but Kurt's already been doing one. But yeah, that's fucking, how dare you?
How dare you? So, yeah, so there was that. But then it was the first set of panels. Which one did you go to? Did you go to mine?
I wasn't. Yes, I did. The YA one. Yeah.
That's right. I was like, I do remember seeing you there. So I moderated the YA authors panel, which I think went very well.
Yeah, it was great. Your questions were great, and it's the way you open, like you set the tone for how that one opened because you like immediately cracked jokes and made it like really lighthearted and fun. And then the audience questions and stuff were just fabulous. Like really good discussions came from it.
Yeah, it was a great thing, and like the authors who were there also excellent.
Yes,
like they knew how to take the question and roll with it and told interesting stories. And it was a ton of fun. I will take some credit for being a good moderator because I would like to do that in the future. So if you're looking for moderators for things, I enjoy doing it and I think I'm good at it. And if you need a reference,
very good at it. Well, and like you also like started it with like you have to ask a question, which thank you, because God damn it, like people do that where like it's not a question, I just want to say you're great. Thank you. We all know that's unnecessary. Like please don't do that.
Right.
So
that was the first thing that went. I will admit, after that, I planned to bounce. I was like, I think after the panel, I'm going to need like just to come down somewhere else. And I have to admit, like I've been to enough of these conferences now that the conversations that are happening in these panels, the topics they're discussing, it's like, they're not for me as a narrator, they're for readers. And so I don't need to spend a lot of time on panels or in rooms with panels going on because like this just isn't for me. So my plan was to bounce, but then I ran into some friends. My friend Carter was there. We had gone to breakfast that morning with him. And he was like, oh, I'm going to go support Matt, M.A. Wardell, in his panel. And I was like, well, if I say I'm not going to do that, now I'm the asshole.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, okay, I'll go with you and Brian, who had just been on my panel, and we will go together to the one on comedy in romance. And it was like, and our friend Dominic was on the panel, so it's like, all right, I will go support. I will say I left that one also feeling like this wasn't for me. This is for other people. I don't need to do this.
Right.
Which one did you go to after that?
I don't think I went to any panels because kind of the same thing. Like I wanted to try to do the co-writing one because I'm always interested to see how people co-write because that's something I want to do one day. But I think I ended up going to grab something to eat and then it ran to like I waited on my food so long that I like missed it basically. But yeah, the same kind of thing. Like if they're more geared for readers, I usually skip those. just because I'm there for, honestly, I would love more panels about craft. Like if they had more about like the writing portion of it, I would have been like all over it. But this is their first one, so I don't know why they would make it a craft one. It's for readers, right? So I don't think I did another one. I wanted to go to your other narrator ones, but it coincided with the one I was actually in.
Right. Yeah.
Which is a bummer.
So after that, there was like a like author narrator dinner that was offered. Another thing Queers and Quills did so well is they actually offered us meals.
Yes.
As included as part of our ticket. Because some people were saying, like, the table fee was a little on the pricier side for a conference, but they gave us so much. They definitely gave us the value of those tables.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
because I've paid close to that and not gotten nearly as much support.
I've paid more than that. Because like what I paid as a narrator was less than what I paid to go to GRL, and I didn't get any free meals at GRL.
Yeah, no shit. Same.
So the fact that I got 2 free meals and like 3, I got 3 free meals because there was the narrator author dinner. There was the lunch the next day before the signing. And then there was the Sunday brunch.
Okay. Yeah. I missed the brunch, but I forgot that was offered.
Yeah. So like,
yeah,
it was great. So yeah, it was a beautiful taco bar. The terrace was open so we could go outside and take our masks off and just talk. And it was so nice. And the drinks were free.
Yeah.
Little bar was open for us. That was great.
So the dinner was like right before my Untucked panel. And that's when like all the nerves hit because I was like, I was already feeling weird and self-conscious to begin with. And then I was like, oh my God, I signed up for a panel. What the fuck was I thinking? So I like ran upstairs and like power drank a gin and tonic. And I couldn't even eat because my stomach was upset. I couldn't do anything. So I didn't get to enjoy the taco bar. And of course it was very much closed by the time I got out of the panel thing, but it looked amazing.
Yeah.
If I wasn't being such a weirdo, I probably would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah. And so you had an Untucked panel, which I want to hear more about. I went, the narrator readings were at the same time. So like, that's what I was off doing. I'll just say everybody did a great job. I think it was one of the better narrator panel groups I've been a part of. Like everybody did a good job. It was delightful. It was fun.
That's awesome.
I will say 8 people is a lot to read in a row. And something strange happened because we were originally told to pick pieces that were like about 4 to 5 minutes long.
Okay.
But then some narrators had to drop out. So then there was more time. So then they were like, well, you can extend to like up to 8 minutes if you want. And the thing I learned is 8 minutes is too long.
Did you have to, were there a couple people who read for that long?
Yes, because they didn't pick their pieces until like that morning. And so they were looking for an 8-minute cutting. I had picked mine out like weeks before and was like, I'm lazy and I don't want to recut or find another scene. So I'm just doing my original 4.5 minutes and that'll be it. And the folks who did that, it was like, that was a good size reading. The folks who went the full 8 minutes, it was like, that was a little long. It felt a little long. So something I learned is like, keep it tight. So when I'm doing my, the conference that's here in Green Bay in a couple weeks, like that's what I'm going to do. Like 5
keep
minutes,
it
guys.
to like 4
keep
minutes.
It to 5. Yeah. So, but I want to hear about your Untucked session because the idea of these sessions is they were supposed to be like RuPaul's Drag Race, Untucked, behind the scenes, candid conversations about topics. What were you guys talking about? Who was on your panel and how did it go?
Let me pull up who was on my panel because I don't want to miss anybody's name and feel like a jerk. But it was really good. They made it very, very comfortable. We weren't behind a table. We were like sitting on a couch. So it was a couch and then a bunch of chairs. And so everybody was at the same level and there wasn't that like barrier between us and the listeners. Hell is my pictures. I took a picture of the panel thing because I was a little excited about it. Let me see. Okay. So Dominic Lim, Frederick Smith, Brian D. Kennedy, Kira Andrews, and Emery Lee was on the panel.
Nice.
And Dominic and Frederick were the ones moderating it. And they were lovely. Like we kind of kicked it off with talking about who we are and like our sexual identity and what got us into writing, just like the kind of normal stuff. But then we like immediately just jumped into some really good conversations about, the who writes romance, who reads it, like how we as authors kind of explore like ourselves and pushing like what we're comfortable with writing and what we should and shouldn't write. And it was really good. And like they were really like both Frederick and Dominic were like, this is a respectful conversation. And, you know, we're approaching these topics with open minds, open hearts. We're not trying to like belittle anybody. Like this is a safe space where we can have these conversations and it not feel accusatory or anything like that. And it did feel that way. Like people were asking, you know,
because what were you guys talking about?
We were talking about the landscape of romance. And so we had a great smattering of different identities on the panel. So like Emery is a trans individual. Kira and I were both cisgendered women. And then of course we had Brian, Dominic, and Frederick, who were all cisgender gay men. And so it was this cool discussion of, you know, writing within the genre. And like, you know, I think one of my favorite things that they talked about was like us being straight passing women writing this genre, how we don't want to take up space for own voice characters to discuss trauma. And I forgot the exact quote it was, where it's like, you can write like romance, but like save the room for them to discuss trauma because we hadn't lived that. Like it's okay to write the experience, but not the trauma or something like that. And it was really cool. It was really interesting. And the reader
sharing
feedback
the joy,
was great.
but not the trauma.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was really great. And so we had a couple audience members like ask us questions about it and kind of join into the discussion because we invited them to. We were like, it's not just a Q&A thing. Like if you want to talk about something, like we invite you to do that. And it was great. So I went into it really nervous and then left it feeling like I had made friends with everybody in the room. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
So I hope they continue doing those more candid discussions because I mean, it did save room for us to like joke and have fun, but we were talking about really good topics that I think we shy away from because we're worried about overstepping or making people uncomfortable. But it was just done in such a way that we just had a great time with it. So,
good.
Yeah,
I hope they do that again. I hope they let narrators in on it next time.
Yeah.
I don't want them to my one note to them after the fact was like, please don't program our readings against author events because one, we want the authors to come hear us read.
Yeah.
Like that's important to us. That's maybe more important than having time to network with them is a chance for them to see what we can do.
Yeah.
But the other thing is like, yeah, I would have loved to have been a part of one of those panels because I say things like I say shit all the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I am willing to speak my mind.
Yes. Yeah.
That is like a perfect format for me.
Yeah. So hopefully I'm going to say when, because I'm putting it out in the universe that this is definitely going to happen again. When they do this conference again, I'm hoping that they stagger it in a way that like, because I listen to you read all the time, but like I would still like to have gone and listened to everyone and enjoyed that panel.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
So then we're at Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
This is when I left the conference to go hang out with John's cousin, Austin, who I had met last year when we were visiting his family in Oregon. He lives in Portland now. So me and a bunch of the gays, we went to Scandals in downtown Portland, which is the same gay bar me and my gays went to last year.
That's amazing.
So I've been to the same gay bar in Portland twice. But it was good for like our age group. And it was also like get a drink and chat vibe.
Cool. Love that.
Versus like there's dancers or there's a dance floor and pulse pounding music, you know. It's just like it's grab a drink and sit down and talk. So again, a bunch of the gays, we all got a lift. We went out there. We were hanging out. My friend Mark, who is also a narrator, his brother also lives in Portland. John's cousin Austin came and met us. His brother came and met us. Mark and I ended up staying a little bit later to hang out with just the two of them and just like got caught up and had a nice night out. And then, went back to the hotel and went to bed.
Yeah. Do you remember what was it Drag Bingo?
Drag Bingo was happening Friday night.
Okay. Yeah, I did that. And that was really fun. I will say, like, I'd never done Drag Bingo before. And I had no idea what to expect, but it was also exactly what I expected. So it was basically just a very ridiculous drag queen reading off bingo stuff and then would perform numbers every once in a while. The funniest fucking thing, though, at the very, very end, one of the bingo winners got to choose her final number, and it was Pink Pony Club. And so she was like, I want everyone to stand up and dance with me, right? I was the only person who got up out of the fucking chair. And it was a sea of people. No, it was all
I
introverted.
was going to say there were
nerds.
so many people lined up to go into there.
Yeah,
like,
it was a ton. There was a ton of people, and everyone was very like during the performances. She got plenty of tips, and people were clapping and singing. But when she told everyone to get up and dance, nobody did. I stood up like an ass and was the only one doing this shit.
Away.
Yeah, nobody moved. And at that point, I was already committed. So I was like, do I sit back down? Do I stand? I don't know what to do with myself. But yeah, I was like, I wanted, after the fact, I was like, she asked a bunch of introverted people to dance, and this was not the crowd for it. You know what I mean?
No.
So it was
also, if everybody stood up, how are you going to see the drag queen?
I mean, she was very tall. She had like huge heels on, and she was also naturally very tall. So we would have been able to see her. But like, yeah, it was very funny. So I stood there and was like, I made a mistake. That's so awkward and great. But yeah, it was really fun. And then immediately after that, I went back and went to sleep.
Good. Well, yeah. I mean, you get a good story out of it when all is said and done.
Exactly. I got to be the only person who followed directions and was like,
yeah. So then day 2 came around.
Mm-hmm.
I started my day with a narrator ask me anything panel. So they like split up the narrator readings and like the question and answer portion. So again, it was the same 8 people answering questions. The question of own voices narration did come up. I did jump in and say my piece.
Excellent.
Other than that, it was all the usual questions you would expect to ask of narrators. And anyone who has listened to this podcast knows my answers to those questions. So we will not go over them again. What did you do in the morning?
I went downstairs and organized my table. So they did, I shipped all of my books to them, which is amazing. And then they had them delivered to the hotel and then to my table directly. So as soon as I got to my table, all my stuff was there.
Awesome.
So I had set up a little bit the night before, but I needed to count my inventory and get everything ready before then. So I finished doing that, got all of my inventory situated. I also had a couple people during day 1 pull me aside and ask if I could set stuff aside for them. So I had to make sure all that was like,
yep,
that made sense in my brain. I would set things aside. So right as I finished organizing the tables when they fed us, so I got to have my lunch, but again, so nervous I couldn't eat. So I just held on to my food and just had it stashed under my table. I ended up eating that for dinner because I just didn't have time to eat after that. So I was starving by the time it was all said and done. But yeah, so the whole time you were doing your Ask Me Anything and stuff like that, I was just fussing over my table and like snacking on a little bit of chips. And then when the signing actually opened, I really hadn't eaten very much food, but I didn't know what to do at that point.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised to hear you were so nervous because I was right there. I didn't see it in you.
Yeah, I can hide it well, but yeah, no, I was really weirdly nervous the whole conference, and I think it's just because it's been a while, and I was really excited to be there, and I really wanted it to go well. So I think I just was in a weird anxiety loop for the most of the conference, but still had fun.
Yeah,
I had a great time.
Good. Would you say your signing was successful?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm glad I did this before the doors opened, but and this is some inside scoop. I had my price list on my table. Sorry. And I before the doors opened, I went and looked at how everybody else was setting up their table and what they were charging for their books, and realized I was underselling myself quite a bit. And was like, okay. So I went and quietly took my price list down and then matched what everybody else was doing. And I'm glad I did, because I otherwise I think I wouldn't have made as much back, which I needed to because the shit's expensive. And I kind of would have been undercutting everybody else and maybe making them look bad. So,
right. Yeah.
But I just matched what everybody else was doing, compared to how big my books were compared to theirs and stuff. So yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to kind of readjust. So I just took the time to fix my prices, and I'm glad I did, because I still sold plenty of books. People didn't bat an eye. It was fine. And I was like, I had this weird moment, right as I was pulling my side down. You weren't there yet. Otherwise I would have pulled you aside and been like, hey, but I text Jess and was like, hey, I think I'm going to change my prices. Am I being an asshole? And she's like, no, you're not.
No,
this is, you need to do look what everybody else is doing and match it. It's okay to do that. So, but yeah, it was great. So I was actually a little nervous at the first couple times people came up and were asking how much my books were. And I was like, hey, they're 20. And they're like, no problem. Here you go. I was like, man, I don't know. I was just like, imposter syndrome was bad, I guess. I
Well,
have no idea.
especially like the special edition ones that you had made and printed. Like people were selling special edition stuff for way more than 20.
Yeah, I mean, but those special editions were really kick ass with like the foiled pages and stuff. I was like, man, those are cool.
Yes, true.
But yeah, I was so it was kind of cool. So I did that and like adjust my price, and then when it kicked off, it was so cool. Like because of the podcast, because of the panel, because of the work we put in before the conference, or I guess you did because I didn't really help the podcast. So the work you did, it really helped with people coming up to my table and being like, oh, I heard about you. Like, where should I start? Or tell me about the dinosaurs or whatever. So yeah, definitely made a difference because I had people reference the podcast when they walked up to the table. So it was kind of awesome.
I heard more than one person say, I see dinosaurs. I need to come talk to you. Like it continues to be a thing. Like it's an entry point for folks.
Yeah. Yeah. I freaking love it. I love the fact that they're like, I saw people do a double take and be like, are those dinosaurs? And I was like, yeah, come here.
Yeah. And I will say my friend Dominic, who was on the panel with you, he made a point of reading something from everyone who was on that panel. And so he read what's the first book in Find the Gin? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he read that and loved it and was like, I was really surprised how much I liked that and had just like nothing but great things to say about you. And I was like, I know, right?
So she's humbled good by that. Like it was so cool. It was so sweet, firstly. Like, and then with him saying like he enjoyed it. He sent his assistants over who I didn't catch their name, but they were, oh man, I should reach out to him and ask who those two lovely ladies were because they came over and they were like, Dominic told us to come check you out and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, that's so sweet. And thank you very much. And then they saw my sticker that had Kevin on it that said Dead Fish Fan Club. And they were like, why are you so cool and weird? I was like, yes, you're my vibe. You're my people. But yeah, he was so cool. And like, I wanted to die of happiness on the panel when he was talking about how much he liked the work because I adore him and respect him a lot. So it was very, very cool of him.
Yeah. Yeah. So the signing was 5.5 hours long.
Yeah.
I will say I never really got to leave my table, which is unusual for me because usually narrators get a little bit of a burst and then you get some time to chill. And like, that's a good time to like walk around and talk to authors and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Did not have that opportunity this time. So thank goodness we did have other times to meet with the authors who were there. Mm-hmm. And thank goodness I was able to be featured as a moderator and that I did the podcast because being situated between you and M.A. Wardell and like just down the aisle from Annabeth Elbert, it was like a lot of people had things for me to sign. And so I spent a lot of time talking to people, having people do my little swag giveaway phone stand thing, signed a lot of books. And it was really lovely. It was just a great chance to meet people. And that was when I really felt like, okay, this is my genre in a way that it's not quite the same for some of the other narrators who were there. Like, for better or for worse, there's not the same enthusiasm about sapphic romance. Yeah. There's not the same enthusiasm for YA work as there is for adult romance, which is squarely what I do for the most part. And it was like, I see myself getting the kinds of attention that is reminiscent of a conference that is purely romance. So I'm not sure there's something that can be done about that other than to continue to encourage people to read outside of romance and also to like really appreciate all of the artists who are there who work in other queer genres. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The signing was the only time I really felt like, oh, this is very reminiscent of GRL.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that did come up during our panel too, as like I think Emery was the one who really championed like if you want to see more representation and stuff, you have to go look for these books. Like you have to go outside of the genre you're used to, ask for these books at your bookstores, like you have to seek them out and things like that. So yeah, I would imagine that would be deflating for other narrators to see,
I mean, I think they all took it in stride because the thing is, those who have not gone to a conference like GRL, they don't have that experience to compare it to. So any amount of attention is they're kind of like excited by. Like I went with a bunch of narrator friends to a YA conference outside of Chicago last year, and like they were all like, "This is incredible." Somebody asked me for my autograph, and I was like, "Just one?"
Yeah, right.
like, oh, that's right. Other narrators in other genres don't get the same attention that romance narrators do. And so if you're not in that genre all the time, you're probably not used to having these interactions with people. So I think for them, it was still mostly positive in the fact that they were getting interactions with readers and meeting new authors. But again, it was just, I have to acknowledge that, like, at that moment, I saw the fact that my work in mostly romance was giving me a leg up with just getting like more people coming to my table, which means nothing really in the long run. Like it's not a professional advantage to have more readers at a conference who are familiar with my work. You know, like that doesn't get me more work in the long run because there's fewer people for me to break into. Like I'm already introduced. They know me already. So, but you know, I just want to put it out there. I recognized it. I recognized that I was busier than others, and I know why that was. It's because of the number of people. It's because of the number of people who were like crossover from GRL and Rainbow Readers to this conference.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. So we had the signing. Then there was the closing night party. We both dressed up. We have some pictures. We should share those on the Patreon. I don't think we took any of those pictures, though. I think that's the problem. I think other people took the pictures. We got to get them from those people. Hunt down those pictures so we can share them with our Patreon folks. We both dressed in red. I had some Gordo cosplay on.
It was so cool. It was very cool.
It was a lot of fun to make. I'll put on in the Patreon and eventually on my Instagram. But I did some iron-on vinyls. So I made some custom roses and ravens that went up the arm of my jumpsuit, and then I interspersed little symbols for all the other series that I've done. I shouldn't say all. I'm sure I missed some, but I tried to get a lot of them. Little symbols for a lot of the series that I've done. So I'll put those out in the world at some point. So
yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah. And then it was time to go home. So how was your trip home?
Trip home was much better than the one getting there. They didn't fling me over to Atlanta. I think I passed through Utah, which I had never been through. For whatever reason in my brain, I didn't remember or know that Utah was beautiful because like we flew over it and it was like all these big, beautiful mountains. And I don't know what body of water I was over, but it was this beautiful, crystal clear blue water that I saw a sunken ship in. It was like, it was so cool.
Salt Lake?
Maybe. I mean, probably. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I saw a sunken ship. And that was the highlight of my damn trip. Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably Salt Lake.
Probably. But it was great. And then in the airport, they had an Allosaurus skeleton. So I was just nerding out so hard about it.
Yes.
So super cool. And then, and then I was able to get home, and so awesome. Apparently I missed some really shitty weather. So I got back right as everything was sunny and beautiful again. But yeah, the trip home was wonderful. No notes.
Good.
No changes.
Yeah, I didn't have a hard trip home. It's just that it was a later flight. So I landed in Chicago at like 9 p.m. And then by the time I got to my car, it was 10 p.m. And so like at 10 p.m., I started driving back to Green Bay. And that's like a 3-hour drive. And so I did finally pull into my driveway like a little after 1 a.m.
Sucks.
Just like grabbed my toothbrush and toiletries out of my bag and was like, fuck it, I don't need anything else. I'm just grabbing this. I went inside and brushed my teeth and went to bed. So
I think I probably would have just like opened the door and face planted and just felt like gone to sleep. You know what I mean? Like that's just, that drive is
the puppies
so long.
would not have let that happen. So
hard to sleep.
They were very excited about somebody walking in the door at 1 a.m. So they knew that was not normal and that needed to be investigated. So
that's fair.
But yeah, so overall, I just have nothing but good things to say about how the conference went and how it was organized. And I have all the good feels. I'm so excited I got to spend time with so many wonderful people, some of whom I already knew, and I have some new friends.
Yeah.
Really great.
Yeah, I got to, I think, I met a lot of really cool people, but I'm glad I was able to meet Carter through you because I follow him now on his social media stuff, and I'm a fan. Now I'm just like, I watch all of his stuff. So it was good. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great. If you're not following Carter Kalchik on Instagram and TikTok, he has some very smart takes, well thought through takes on romance and other genres of literature. Smart guy.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say the one downside of the whole thing is I feel like there were so many people there that I don't feel like I got to spend enough time with any of them.
Yeah, same.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like I got to spend enough time with you. I don't feel like I got to spend enough time with Jeremy and Lindsay, my two bestie narrators. I don't feel like I got to spend enough time with Dominic and Carter and all the other authors. Like, there was just no way. And even sitting next to you and Matt for that full 5.5 hours, we didn't get to talk. We didn't get to interact.
Busy. Yeah. We
There
were
was shit
heads
going
down.
on. So the one downside of the whole thing is like there were too many wonderful people, and I didn't get to spend an adequate amount of time with one single person there.
Mm-hmm.
It was just bouncing between groups.
Yeah, if that's the worst thing that happened is that we were so busy just doing stuff that we didn't get to hang out. That's a good sign, because if we had that much downtime, we'd probably been like, we were kind of bored. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great.
Too many wonderful people is a good problem to have.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about doing Queers and Quills in the future, we would recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
No word as of yet as to whether or not for sure anything is happening in the future. So in the meantime, seek out other book conferences. They really are a wonderful experience. Narrators love meeting readers. Authors love meeting readers. And so it's such a great thing to do if you can find one nearby.
I did get some
to go to.
fan art.
Yeah, you got fan art.
Yes,
That's
I forgot
so
about
cool.
that. I have it here because I want to put it in a frame. But yeah, I had a reader who was one of the volunteers. We didn't even talk about that. They had so many volunteers. Like, they did that right. They had people who were excited to be there and who had experience volunteering in other spaces. So Chris was the guy who gave me this, and I love him with my whole heart for that. But he also was able to help me get all of my books to the on-site FedEx thing that they had. Holy shit, that was such a game changer, because I was able to just load all my books there and then ship them back to my house. I didn't have to try to go off-site, do other things. Holy shit, love that. But yeah, freaking so cool. But this was such a huge highlight. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, we just keep stumbling upon things that were so well done. So
yes. So
congratulations to Marley Valentine and Ashell of Mahogany Mail, a book box. Like they really did a fantastic job. We're so grateful. It was a wonderful time. Portland was beautiful. Great trip. And that's really all there is to say.
Yeah.
He says after 50 minutes of talking. That's all. That's all.
That's all. Little note, little thing.
That's all. So we will be back next week to chat with you about God only knows what. But we're back. It's summer, and we'll see what we're talking about. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.